I gotta teach her. Top down through the streets, yeah. You think she ain't on a leash, yeah. Baby, you know what it is. Know you a sleeper, but you know they love a creeper. Don't be shy with your features.
Thank you. So I was explaining that this is a university project for a subject called marketing. So we were basically trying to launch a product, and this is about holograms, basically. We're planning to make a revolution, let's say, on the marketing market, basically. I don't know if you have any questions about holograms. How much do you know about holograms? First of all, that would be my first question.
I'm familiar with them. I don't know how much the technology has changed over the years because I mean, the last that I saw it, holograms were largely limited by the reflective surfaces that actually can pick up the light. So I've seen them used using multi-layered screens and things like Disney World or using smoke, but I don't know if the technology has changed dramatically so that there's new ways that you can use holograms in different places. I'd like to learn about that.
Yeah, exactly. So we were actually trying to think this product. We would like to provide a service basically to different companies. For example, restaurants, chains. For example, McDonald's or Burger King. If you have any more examples. So the service would be basically designing the holograms, installing them, and providing support basically.
Yes.
Mhm.
Also, I don't know, I think it's going to be good for luxury items as maybe sushi restaurants as well, or maybe concerts, music concerts. I think
Did you
it's
guys see the
we will-
the hologram-ish of Tupac Shakur? Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen it. Do-
They recreated Tupac after he had already died
Oh
and
yeah,
they did a concert with him.
and also with Michael Jackson. Maybe I've seen some videos.
Yeah, they did the same thing with Michael Jackson too. Very
Really?
cool.
Well, we saw the one of ABBA last year. It was incredible.
Mhm. Nice,
I
cool.
think it's good opportunity for enterprises to do something as that because it's a new way, I think, to push down a product or service.
Cool.
And I don't know if you think it's going to be something for the profits.
Yeah, if it's going to be profitable, the holograms market itself, because it's very. I think we have studied it a little bit, and I think it's very expensive to all the installing thing, and right now the equipment. I think that's the most expensive part, and electricity as well, or energy. Is it a profitable market, first of all?
Well, I can tell you this, that working in emerging media, I haven't particularly worked with a ton of holograms, which I think is somewhat indicative of the cost of those holograms. But also, I think one of the questions becomes, what's the difference between a hologram and augmented reality, right? Like, in what ways can a hologram do something that augmented reality can't? So, not to oversimplify it, but one of the things that I think is a distinction is that hologram is seen by multiple people at the same time, whereas augmented reality is generally seen by one person through whatever device they're looking at. So I look at it as a shared user experience versus an individual user experience. So for me, there is definitely a market for shared user experiences when it comes to augmenting reality, because that's really what it is. A hologram is augmenting reality in a different way. It's projecting something into a place where that doesn't exist. And I haven't thought about this very much, but for me, I think that's really the way that I would look at it is, what are the places where there's a market for that, and how does the technology, what's the efficacy of the technology based upon the application? So, if it's a restaurant chain, they're going to have tons of money to be able to implement this wherever they want if there's a particular value in it. So the question would be, so using that as an example, how would you see holograms being used, or better yet, how would you see a shared augmented reality experience being used to help the retail experience for restaurants? For McDonald's, let's say that I'm in the store, and I really just am dying for a Big Mac. Like, how do you see that experience happening? Like, what are some ideas that you guys would think of?
Okay, I've seen some examples on YouTube, and that one would be projecting the Big Mac itself. So
Mhm.
the customer, before buying the Big Mac, could see how the hamburger is. So you have the customer has the chance to see how the product is before buying it. So that would be one, to see the Big Mac just rolling around, and that would be one. And we had another idea. It's, for example, I really like the Beatles. I have a t-shirt here.
Mhm.
And for example, you're alone, you're actually bored, you don't have anyone to talk to, and you have in front of you a hologram, for example, of John Lennon. And that would be cool, I guess, to talk to John Lennon, or to listen to him singing, for example. So that will be an interactive hologram,
Mhm.
with different
That's
things.
cool. I like the idea of holograms being used to project things that can't happen, more than things that can happen. Do you know? So that's something that I think about when it comes to a lot of emerging media, is that what makes this special, what makes it different from the real world itself, right? So I once worked with a company to make a hologram of Frank Sinatra sitting at the end of a bar. And I thought that was cool because I would love to have a drink with Frank Sinatra. I mean, I can't think of anything that I'd probably want to do more. So that I like. So I like those directions. When it comes to things that are more tactical and practical, like the McDonald's burger, you have to contend with cheaper technology. So I already know that right now they are using 3D modeling to make interactive menus so that you can actually spin it. So you can look at the menu and you could move it around and actually see, like, oh, what does my Big Mac look like from all sides and stuff like that. And the thing is, that's a lot easier to do than holograms. So for me, I think again, just thinking about this for the first time, I would focus on, like, what's the highest intrinsic value that you have for what you can get out of a hologram you can't get out of something else. And I think your biggest contender in that is going to be augmented reality, 3D models, that interactive screens where you can actually see those things themselves. So holograms, they appear to be three-dimensional, right? That to me is one of the biggest differentiators, right? It's like, I mean, do you need to see a burger in 3 dimensions? Well, not if you can spin it around, but if you see a person on a screen, it's a lot different. For instance, I saw an example in the New York airport a couple years ago, and there was a holographic greeting person where I walked into the airport, and there was basically someone who said, "Welcome to New York," and started talking about the city, and it was very surprising, but it was cool because it's so much different seeing somebody have a personality as opposed to what you normally hear, which is just somebody's voice over the loudspeaker. A lot of times it's the mayor or whatever who's saying, "Oh, welcome to our beautiful city. Please explore the lovely beaches and all of the museums and whatever." I don't care. Like, that's just the normal advertising. But seeing some kind of representation of a person made it much more real, made it much more I don't know, charismatic, and gave it a life, which I thought was nice.
Yeah. So we came to one question while doing the market research. Right now we're doing one, and we came to one question that is, if would you go to a restaurant or a place just because of the holograms, or do these holograms change the whole experience, user experience, or not? How important are holograms for users or customers?
I think that the answer to that question lies in the question, because what I mean by that is, it has to be, there has to be a reason, there has to be a why. So that's something that people often overlook about technology. I mean, I work with a lot of interesting technology, but I can tell you that the cool factor wears out real fast if there isn't a reason for it to exist. So I guess my answer to that question would be, why is there a hologram in that restaurant? Not that there is a hologram at all, but why does it make sense for there to be a hologram in that restaurant? So here, give me an example. What about a restaurant that is like a pop-up store where the theme changes all the time, and you use holograms and you use projections to make it so that that is what's different, or it changes the era that you're in. Like if it's a McDonald's, if you say, we're going to make the McDonald's look like it first looked like when it was invented in the 30s or 40s or whenever it was invented, and then the next week it's the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, to me then there's a reason, because I'm like, I don't know what McDonald's I'm going to walk into. But would I go just for the holograms? Only if it's part of the whole experience. Like if I was advising McDonald's on that, I would say, hey, if you want to do this, change your menu a little too. Make the Big Mac what the used to be like back in the 30s. Now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, the holograms are cool, but I'm coming for like the whole experience. So I think the difference between a technology being a useful tool and being a gimmick is how it's fundamentally related to what it is that you're trying to, like what the experiences you're trying to create. If that makes sense. Like, you know, is it integrally related to what is drawing me to this place or to this experience, whatever it might be? So yeah, I mean, would I go if it made sense, if there was a compelling reason that it connected me to the product. So I think it depends a lot on the thing that you're talking about. Like with you mentioned sushi, for example. I love sushi. How would you do holograms in sushi? Like just as curiosity.
I would put maybe some koi fish like floating in the roof, and maybe when people's just sitting there and I don't know eating, they can see like all the fishes like floating away right on
So
top of
then
the
it
head, and I think that's something like illusional, and it's going to be something like magical to see also when you eat.
right. So then it creates an ambience. It creates an experience. So it's like I don't think it's a coincidence that I brought up Disney World because it creates that total immersive experience, right? Where I'm not just going, and this is the difference. I'm not just going for sushi. I'm going for the experience of eating in a Japanese restaurant that feels magical, that feels like I'm being transported. So I know I geek out on Japanese culture a little bit. I would love to go to a Japanese restaurant that could take me back to the Meiji era of feudal Japan, you know, and you have the koi fish and you have these bridges and my son's name is Ronin, actually, who's named after the wandering samurai. So
Really?
so yeah, I geek out on this a lot. But again, it's to me, it's like, how does it connect to, okay, sushi restaurant, Japanese culture. So the first thing you mentioned is the koi fish, and how can that bring it to life? So yeah, I think it could be very cool. From a tactical standpoint, obviously, this is not a mom and pop kind of store kind of thing because it's at least right now, it could be kind of expensive to create that, but it could be very interesting. I wonder if that's something that becomes the store of the future. Like, I don't know. Like, where do you guys want to see it? Like, what excites you most about the holograms?
What about you? I guess, and maybe in restaurants, like mostly
Mm-hmm.
restaurants and music concerts. That's our top picks, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can create a whole new experience. Maybe here in Argentina, at least, it's something never ever seen. So
Mm-hmm.
we put maybe some holograms. I think it's going to change people's mind, definitely.
Well, I think there's a similarity between rock concerts and music, which is it's still about entertainment and immersive experience, right? So I think it's not utility, right? It's not like it's gonna really, you know, help you I don't know, use a saw, but it is gonna create an enriching experience. So yeah, no, I think it's cool.
It's
I
definitely
mean, obviously with concerts it's much easier because you're already expecting spectacle, right? Like the lights, the thing, and then if you could make holograms kind of bring that to life, like that could be very, very intriguing for sure. Um, so then where do you guys go from here? You said this is a project. Do you have like a model around this, or are you just kind of looking for the angles and are just really interested in it?
And we're really interested, and also we're looking mostly for the angles, but we're still seeing where we can go from here. What do you think about Argentina? Like maybe thinking about this here specifically.
Well, considering I've only been to Argentina twice, I can't say that I'm an expert on it. It was beautiful when I was there. I think I still comment things obviously from a more US market based perspective where there's a little bit more rampant technology adoption. But at the same time, the thing about the United States is there's a large gap between access and non-access. So I think one of the things about technology is it who is your target market? Like who is your audience? Who are you trying to get to? The difference between the market at a McDonald's and a high-end sushi restaurant is huge. I mean, it's really, really an enormous difference. And I think that it changes how you look at how you would make the product. Like I mean, obviously, yeah, if you make it for the high-end sushi restaurant, you're looking for this gorgeous, beautiful experience. I picture it being dark inside where there's glowing fish everywhere and you can control the ambience. If you're at McDonald's, people are going there with a purpose, right? Like I'm going there, I may only have 15 minutes to eat lunch between two jobs and I gotta jump back on the bus. So it's a more challenging experience. So I guess not knowing the Argentinian audience as well, I would just say it comes down to that audience. Is the audience you're going for the audience in Buenos Aires? Is it the rest of the country? And what are you focusing on? So, thinking about restaurants, McDonald's versus, $100 plate sushi. It's a very, very different.
Yes, there's a big difference, but I think we should like choose a target before, definitely.
And I do think, going back to what we started talking about, I think that it might be interesting to really think about what is the difference between what a hologram can offer versus what an augmented reality experience can offer. Now, are you guys familiar with OLED screens?
No, in my case, I'm not familiar with it.
Not really,
Okay,
but
so
VR objects, for example, you just put like these glasses and you can see augmented reality. Is that it? Is that similar?
no, OLED is a type of screen that it's like transparent, but you can still have things appear on it. So I'm going to show you guys an example of something. Have you ever heard of Field Trip to Mars?
No, I never have heard of it.
Okay, so I'm going to try and share this with you real quick. This is from 2007.
Okay.
This uses OLED screens on the side of a bus. Give me 1 second. I'm listening to an ad on YouTube, so.
Sure.
Okay. So I think this is relevant because if you don't mind me just sharing my screen here, I think this is relevant because this is what an OLED screen can do. And you have to think about that as in the other aspect of a technology where it's not a projection, it's actually using a glass to do this. So let me see if I can get this to share with sound. Okay, let me know if you guys can see and hear. Yes, no.
Mars ground traffic control. You are clear to depart.
They wanted to put school kids on a bus and make it feel as if they were driving on Mars.
When you come on to the bus, you can look out the windows. As the experience begins, what you see out the windows now transitions to the surface of Mars.
There's no goggles, there's no headset. They could point out things to the friends that they were seeing, or their friends were showing them something they were seeing. So they were getting a more immersive experience. They were getting more perspective than just a normal VR experience.
It felt like you were actually going to Mars.
Welcome to Mars.
I'll stop sharing there, but the thing about that is they used OLED screens on the windows so that you could actually project, but then they also used like basically accelerometers so that when the bus turned, so did the perspective of what you were seeing. So you had the physical feeling of moving as you're watching. Now, I bring this up as an example because to me, this also accomplishes something that holograms can accomplish, but it's flat glass. So I think that part of the thing with holograms is what makes it different than an experience like that? Is it, and I don't know this, is it cheaper? Is it more expensive? Is it higher fidelity? OLED screens, I think, are pretty expensive, like to do those. I do not think that they're very cheap, but I think that's also something you could think about in terms of use cases, things like that. How have people used OLED screens? Because again, that's a shared experience. There's a whole bus full of kids that are getting to go and see Mars in a way that really enriches the experience. Like, I actually just pitched to I can't say this because it's being recorded. I just pitched to someone that's a large company the idea of doing something like this, so that everybody who's on a commute that has this boring 45-minute commute can actually have some kind of an enriching, unique experience to change that wasted time that they have just sitting on a bus, just sitting on a train, and do things that are more interesting and engaging. So anyway, so I hope you don't mind the minor segue, but I thought it was apropos to what we're talking about, as it is that sort of shared experience. So for what it's worth.
It really reminds me of an attraction on Universal Resort, the one with Fast and Furious, remember?
Oh, yes.
Have you ever been there? That you jump into that bus and you're just going around and they start shooting to the bus. And that will be the same, right? The same technology, OLED screen.
I mean, the funny thing is that most of the times at the theme parks, what they do is actually more holographic. I think, like, for instance, at the new Star Wars exhibit, if I'm not mistaken, and I'd have to look this up, or maybe you have to look it up, is that I think that what they do for a lot of the Star Wars stuff is they use multi-layer screens that then have holographic projections on them so that it creates the feeling of depth and dimension. But it only works if you're standing here, right? Like, I have to be looking that way. You couldn't necessarily walk around it. And that's the thing that I'm curious about, that you guys might know more about than me. The only time I've seen holograms work, like, I always think of the hologram from Star Wars. Princess Leia appears, like, and everybody can see it, but holograms, as far as I know, still require some surface to reflect the light, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing I've seen that does that in a more three-dimensional way is fog. Like, I know that they use fog that comes down and you can kind of project onto fog, but I still haven't ever seen it used like in a major installation. It's been more experimental. I don't know what you guys have seen as far as that. I don't.
Yes, mostly all my experiences with holograms and technology were in Disney. Yes, but then in Japan, Shibuya, there's many advertisings about that. Maybe the floor, like maybe you're in an elevator and you can see the floor all tearing apart, and that's like illusional, but it's so realistic at the same time. It's something.
And that's.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just thinking, and part of it, I think, is, and this might be my misinformation, is what defines a hologram. Is a 3D projector a hologram? So have you guys seen, like, the in the NBA and in the United States, the basketball games, they have 3D projectors for the floor of the game, and it makes the floor like break apart and fall apart, and it feels like they have fallen into space and like things are rising, but really it's just a very, very elaborate array of projectors that are creating that experience. Is that a hologram? I don't know. I actually don't know what's considered a hologram or not. So what do you guys define as a hologram? Just so I know. Like,
I think that hologram is something like more like the ABBA concert style. Like, you can see a projection, but not necessarily through a screen. Like something projected in the air. I don't know. Like, maybe, yes, Star Wars is the best example, and Princess Leia just popping out.
Be a 3D projection. Basically.
Yes, I think that's our definition. Oh.
So then I think the 3D projectors, let me see if I can find this. 3D projection floor. I know the company that did this. Of course, I can't remember them because it's been too long. Let me see if you guys have seen this. We don't have to do sound again, but just real quick, just to make sure that we're talking about. Yeah, I think this is kind of what you guys are talking about. And then I'll stop sharing things, don't worry. Have you guys seen this kind of stuff?
projection is an amazing
stories on our court. I've seen it. This comes from the rafters to the floor, and the energy just explodes.
We shot from the perspective to be used for projection as opposed to shooting typical video.
That requires perspective in a way that, like, when you watch a soccer match and it looks like those ads on the side are three-dimensional, but they're actually just a flat thing. It's like that kind of thing. But anyway, so would you guys consider that to be like a holographic technology using that kind of projection?
More or less, I think that that's literally on the floor. I was thinking of maybe an object projecting, and you could see the depth, mostly the depth of the object, the person, or the thing that you want to watch. It's not like you have to be standing here and seeing there. I would like to see the whole thing and turn it around. That would be better for our experience, I think.
Do you have like an example maybe to share?
I think the ABBA one.
The ABBA one. Have you seen the ABBA concert of last year of pandemic? And
I have seen a little bit of it, but not too much. But what do you know what technology they use for that?
I don't exactly know. I think that they were recording them for a lot of time and then through a green screen and then just projecting that recording there.
yes,
Something like that they did.
like they
So that's what I'm trying to figure out is I think the challenge with holograms is what are they projecting onto? Because there has to be something, and I like some kind of a screen or film or something that picks it up, right?
Yeah. And
So-
also in
so
terms
the-
of
go ahead.
technology, it's pretty expensive, the thing. You need a lot of electricity and programming there.
I think it's a high investment to do, and you know, for any enterprise, it's going to take a lot of money to put in, you know, at the very beginning.
But
Well, every technology starts like that, though, and then if people love them, they get cheaper.
yeah, but we were thinking these last days that if we get to launch this, it will be immediately viral. Like it would be crazy for a lot of
Like
people.
we thought about the model of Porter. I don't know if you've seen it, the 5 strengths of Porter.
I'm sorry, what's that again?
It's like a model where we compare 5 strengths, like the ones of possible competitors, and we thought that maybe the opportunity of having like the strength of investing the, ¿cómo dirías? Las barreras, the barriers of entrance, it's going to be very high. And so we, here in Argentina specifically, we don't have many competitors. So that's why I think it's going to be like a really good opportunity, because not many people are willing to be in here.
So this is interesting. ABBA's hologram concert is not actually a hologram concert at all. So it's not actually a 3-dimensional image. They're using,
But it's
So this is interesting.
It's really realistic. Well, I know that people that have been there, they thought like they were actually there standing just in front of you.
It took them 6 years to make it. So yeah, I don't like I said, I'm not an expert on this, but it's interesting. It looks like it's not actually using holographic technology. I think it might be using basically you know, a 3-dimensional render that they create. But I don't know. I'd have to look it up. It's interesting thing. So then how can I help? Like what is it that, because there's a couple of things here, right? There's technology, there's reception and audience, and then there's like creative execution, but they're all a little bit different, right? And they all have different angles. I mean, here, like where are you guys in the process trying to figure out?
Well, we have mostly the idea, but we like to see like what we can get of investing in this, like where we can go, where we can start, what we can, you know, like yes, the profitability mostly of this.
So having done a little entrepreneurial work in the past, I know that it always comes down to, you know, them seeing it work, them seeing that, oh, somebody made money off of it. So like, right, there's always somebody who uses it the first time and says, oh yeah, I hate to use dirty words like ROI or return on investment, but it comes down to that. Like, I think this is the kind of thing that I would almost suggest that prototyping and proof of concepts or MVPs might work better, because it's going to be difficult to have somebody just jump in and be like, yeah, I'm going to totally throw $30 million at this right now. But if, for instance, if you were approaching a restaurant and you said, we have this concept of using holograms to enrich the experience, why don't we start by using one projector, or start by using one kind of an aspect to show how this can be, and then do an A/B test. You guys familiar with that term, right? Like an A/B test of saying, here's one restaurant that used it and here's one restaurant that didn't. How much more time did people spend in the restaurant? Like, oh, well, with the hologram, they spend an extra 20 minutes. Well, what did that mean? Well, they bought dessert, like, or whatever it might be. Like, and like little things like that, I think help to prove a concept and can help establish what the market could be. Because I can tell you this, and this is one of the really sad but really important realities of creative work. I've been working in creative technology for 20 years. And I love coming up with these crazy ideas. The thing that I learned a long time ago and is that I don't want to say ideas are cheap, but it's the execution of ideas that really matter. So like it really comes down to not just the concept, but like how can this concept be made real? Because I think to a large extent, working in a creative field, imagination comes somewhat second nature to us, but the rest of the world doesn't necessarily immediately see imagination as transferring to business dollars immediately. They want to see like it's like this. The difference between a shiny object and changing the world is how much people can actually experience it, receive it, and understand the value of it. There's a lot of creative ideas that come up and you're like, that was really cool. And then they disappear. For example, right now, what's going on with the metaverse? The metaverse will change the world. It absolutely will. Web3 will end up being the new way of computing and the new way that all these things work, not to geek out on it. But right now, people are struggling with it. They're not really getting it. And like, there's a lot of hype and not a lot of substance to it because it hasn't really been brought in the right way. So, by the way, they call it avatar technology. They made up their own technology for it. They're virtual avatars. That's what they did. But yeah, I think that just to go back to what I was talking about earlier, I think it's really a matter of finding a good partner to actually pilot it, and pilot it in a way that is indicative of your desired market. So if you feel like your market is restaurants, finding a good restaurant that can do it and will serve as a case study so that you can make a case study and show people, we did this. We did this and it had this result. It's funny, like if you guys see Cannes videos, you guys see, the Cannes award shows, they always end with all of this stats like, oh, we reached 900,000 people. We did this, we did this. Oh, there's a reason for that. I mean, even in the smallest kind of business venture, if you start out and you say, we had this crazy idea that holograms could change Argentina. So what we did was we went to, I don't know, this local steakhouse that is known for having this type of an audience. And we said, well, why don't we change this and do it this way? And we put a hologram of, I don't know, let's see what would be a good hologram for a steakhouse. I don't know. You make a totally different environment where you're not in Argentina anymore. So now that you're on a steakhouse, you're on a steakhouse in I don't know, under the water. Right? I'm just making it probably be better for a seafood restaurant, but something like that. Like seafood restaurant under the water where you're actually getting to experience these things. And you say that, well, by doing that, then people ended up ordering more. What if the menu swam over to them? You know what I mean? And you're like, I want that fish. I want to order that one. You're like, because then you holograms only have the fish that are in season. And you're like, okay, like I want that. That would be a wholly different experience, So, but you'd want to measure it. So Anyway, I don't know if that's helpful or extremely challenging. So
Well, it has been really helpful. It does. I mean, it really helped us. Everything you said, it was just like,
Yeah, the whole hour was like,
yes,
changed.
exactly. It really helped us.
okay, great. Anything else that that I can, I don't know, shine any light on or shine any darkness on?
Let me see. Do you have any questions? We have here another one.
No.
No?
No.
No.
I have one question. I know we have like 3 minutes left, but
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
it's a short one. How can you make that someone to return to the place after he or she has seen the hologram? Like, how can we just make it a cycle for people to come to? I don't know if you understand the
Like to catch people, maybe to get them intrigued and to keep them coming.
keep them coming to the store, for example.
Well, that is a matter of user experience. I mean, that's ultimately a matter of developing an experience that people find return and repeat value and intrinsic value. So getting somebody to come back to an experience is the difference between a novelty and something that is really valuable. For instance, I'm not going to Star Wars every day. My brother lives in Orlando, and he does not go to Star Wars every day. He had season passes, but at a certain point, you're like, that's cool, but I'm over it. I'm over it, right? So what makes somebody come back to something is that it's not just that it's cool, it's that it is cool with a purpose. That's what I get back to, the why. Why does this exist? Does it enrich my experience? Or is it the entire experience, right? If it's the entire experience, you might just be over it at some point. For example, the ridiculous, not saying it's a good idea, but the ridiculous idea of the seafood restaurant. If that changed and you could walk in and the first thing that you see is, okay, they have snapper today. Before you even sit down, you're like, they have snapper, they have lobster. I'm not seeing any mackerel on the menu. And I don't know, the special of the day is glowing as this gold fish that swims up to you. That's something different, because this, even before you've sat down, it's then saying, now I know kind of what the menu is. I'm thinking about what I might want to order. There's something in that. Now, that's getting the individual to return, right? Having some sort of a value that you say, I want to experience that again because, well, the food's got to be good too, right? Because you guys are talking about a technology that doesn't do it on its own. It enriches another experience, right? So then getting somebody to come back is tying it as closely as possible to that experience and making sure that they feel like you can't have one without the other. Like, I can't imagine, why would I ever look at a menu anymore? Like, for instance, that's how you change the world. When you're like, why do I look at a menu anymore? Like, if my menu could just appear for me, like I could just be like, click on that. I click on the snapper and it then pops up with, here's how we make our snapper. Like, oh, we take this fish and then it's, with capers and lemons and olive oil and garlic or whatever. That suddenly becomes something where you're like, I want to do that again. I want to have that happen again. I mean, the other aspect of that question is, how do you get other people to come, which is people are going to want to share it, right? You want to get people to be able to share it with others and say, well, you got to come with me to this restaurant. Like, it's totally different than anything that I've ever seen before. And it's the memorability of the experience. It's the desire to feel like this is something that I need to have a part of my life. This is something that I really want to come back to re-experience, which means it's not a gimmick. It's a gimmick, it's going to go away. It can't just be a gimmick. So for me, if you're really, really trying to make something significant here, projecting koi fish on a ceiling is cool, but it's just another ambient, it's a cool thing, but it's going to compete with somebody else who has beautiful lighting or live music or something like that. But if it's related to what you're selling or what you're doing, like if it's related to the sushi, if it's related to what it is to have a dining experience, then it has more replay value. It has a lot more of that intrinsic value. If the concert experience is enriched by that, and it's not just a light, but maybe it changes how much I get out of a concert. So I don't know what the answer is to this, but maybe concert experience, the holograms are a lot closer to you and actually have more of a relationship to you as a viewer, as opposed to everybody's just staring at the screen with this beautiful, beautiful technology on it. I don't know. I guess that would be my take on it, is how directly tied is it to what it is that has value to you? Is it, I love this band, then how does this band better from holograms? I love this food. How is this food better? And they say we eat with your eyes. So then, enriching all of that. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It really does.
Really makes sense, yes.
And I think that can apply to anything. You mentioned in the beginning, you said sushi, you said McDonald's, you said luxury retail.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, things like luxury retail. I mean, obviously, I don't know if you guys have seen recently, there was something for Payless shoes where they showed a store. They made Payless is a budget brand of shoes in the United States. And they did this store. And what they did was they made it look like this super high-end, like Gucci Italian style store where, like, instead of just boxes and boxes, there'd be like one shoe on display and a lot of negative white space. They had designers come in, and people were willing to spend like thousands of dollars for shoes that cost like $20 just because of the perception of that, because of that. So with retail and with luxury brands, it's all about that experience. It's all about that kind of perception of value. I mean, not to get too geeky, but there's not really a lot of intrinsic value in designs that can be stolen from anybody. It's the value that you put in, that you say that, okay, I believe that this is worthwhile. I believe that this has value. So I don't know how holograms can play into that, but I'm sure that there's a way if it's connected to it. Maybe it's part of the fashion of the future. It's like people have digital clothing nowadays, right?
Yes.
Like people are buying digital clothing. Well, maybe the holograms have something to do with, like, I don't know, your table, who you're sitting with at the restaurant, or when you're in the store, maybe you picture yourself at a party. So maybe it's not about that, but maybe it's like, okay, what would this look like if I go to dinner, go to a gala? And they're like, great, walk into this room and go mingle. And you could be there and see yourself at a dinner party, at a wedding, at some kind of an experience wearing the clothes that you're wearing. And I'm just making these up, but like things like that.
Cool. That's very cool.
Yes, it is.
Well, for example, you're in the dressing room and you have different buttons, and you just and you can see how the whole background changes, and the music changes as well. I think the professor told us to just focus on one market, and we thought that the best one would be restaurants and food.
Yes, restaurants, definitely. Like sushi, maybe, or fast food. We know that we can't go like fast food and maybe elegant. So we have to pick one. But
yeah, the thing is that yesterday or the other day we went to McDonald's, for example, and while we were there, we just were trying to think out how can we put the holograms there, or how they could be placed in. And the thing is that we saw how people were eating there, and they just weren't like aware of the space and the store itself.
People don't go to McDonald's to look around; they go to eat.
exactly. Maybe
That's the thing.
that's why we thought that we can put this with a luxury one, because people are like, I don't know, the whole ambiance is really different.
Yeah. And they come for the whole experience, not only for food. But the thing is that we thought on McDonald's or off McDonald's because it's quite profitable and they have a lot of restaurants.
Exactly.
That's the thing, because you can make money from it.
Yes, that's why you got me thinking about with the bus experience. If we put this like in a Japanese and in the Meiji era, it blows your mind, I think, for all the customers.
Or how about this? I would challenge you sometimes to look at some of the behaviors that people have, and look at it as an opportunity. Yes, at a McDonald's, everybody is sitting there eating their sandwich, like just kind of functionally. Like, not that they don't like it, but they're not there. If you go to a Japanese restaurant, I expect it to be nice, to look nice. I want to relax. I feel like it's, I don't go and ram into a restaurant and quickly eat my sushi and leave. It's just a waste. But at McDonald's, you're just like, blah, 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 blah. But maybe there's a way to change that. Maybe that's your value proposition, to say people are just coming here to do this, but you can still leave them feeling a little bit better. Maybe the challenge with McDonald's is, why should people leave at McDonald's feeling like shit? Why do they have to leave there feeling like, I don't feel great, both because it's been bright lighting and I'm staring down at my sandwich and I just ate something that's maybe not going to make me feel great later. Maybe there's ways to just like change that. That's a much harder challenge, but that's still an opportunity. Holograms or not, if you say that in a McDonald's, this is the target audience, right? They come into the restaurant, they're hungry. I have $5. I want to eat. I'm gonna get. That's what I'm here for, right? But if you can enliven and enrich their experience so they feel like that's what I came here for, but I left with so much more, they're never gonna go to Burger King again. And then suddenly it doesn't become a commodity, because a commodity is something where you say, I don't really care that much. Which one is closer, McDonald's or Burger King? That's the one I'm gonna go to. It's closer to my work. If it's 2 blocks farther and I feel better when I leave there, probably gonna go there. But again, that's not an easy one. Now you're talking about more real industry changing kind of ideas, which I'm not gonna lie, are very, very challenging. But really interesting if you can crack that code. How to make people leave McDonald's feeling like they really did have a positive, enriching experience past the fact that they have quite delicious burgers, quite frankly.
Exactly. Yes, I haven't thought it about in that way. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I think if we can figure out a way to break that down, it's going to be something revolutionary.
I mean, here's the thing. What about the table? You said they're staring down, right? They're just staring at their burgers. Well, there's a whole table in front of them. What is the table? Wasted space. It's functional space at this point, right? Well, maybe you could do something with that. Maybe there's a projector underneath the table that's actually putting something on top of it where you can sit down, and maybe you had a really, really rough morning and you just want to have like a peaceful scene in front of you. You just want to have like, rose petals falling down on a garden. You want to have the waves of the ocean. You want to see wind whipping through the mountains. I don't know. Maybe you want to see anything other than where you are. But I can tell you this, people don't walk into McDonald's to see McDonald's. They just don't.
Just don't care.
Right?
They just in a rush and they want to eat.
So that's why it's a bigger challenge. Because if you think about it, what I said before was, if you can tie it directly to what you're trying to do, that's usually the way to make it more valuable in the long term. You say the sushi, I'm going to make my experience of eating sushi better. I'm going to make the experience of going to a concert better. I'm going to make the experience of trying on clothes better. To make the experience of McDonald's better is a harder proposition, because they're not there to see anything. They're not there to experience anything. They always are. We are always taking in all of the sights and sounds, and they have scientists that are going to tell you that if you have this kind of lighting and if you have this kind of music, then people will eat more. Just like they put a certain amount of salt in the food, right? It's like the right amount of salt to make you crave it and then want to get more. But I don't know, maybe there's a way to change that. Or maybe you use it to drive people in. This is a little bit less, this is a little more like money making kind of deal, but you can use holograms to bring people into the store.
Yeah.
Like not just when you're in the store, but you ever looked at a restaurant and you see nobody in it and you're like, I'm not going in there. Like,
Happens a lot.
Well, think about that, and think about how, just like with a website, you judge a website in the first, they say 0.5 seconds. And it's crazy. No matter how much schooling you have, you're going to get 3 master's degrees, and you're going to still look at a website and decide whether it actually has accurate information in 0.5 seconds. It doesn't matter how many degrees I get. That's just how it is. I look at it and I'm like, this looks like shit. I don't trust it. It could be the most vetted scientific, philosophically accurate website ever, and I still am like, eh. But people do the same thing when it comes to restaurants, when it comes to so much, you know? So McDonald's is familiar and it's comfortable, and they see it and they feel like, I know what I'm going to get for better or worse. But, you know, maybe there's a way to update that, to feel like I know what I'm going to get, but McDonald's is now understanding that I want more. I want something a little bit different, a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
That's all. You just have to change the world of fast food and retail and the future.
Yeah. I think that holograms could be a jump into the future, first of all. And then the massification of holograms. I don't know if that's a word itself, but this idea of power to the people, giving the people the chance to giving the people the chance to, a lot of people the chance to buy these things or interact with holograms instead of just a small group of people interacting with holograms. I think that the great market would be there, a lot of people interacting with lower quality holograms instead of one small group.
Have you seen Blade Runner 2046?
Yeah.
Blade Runner.
So-
Oh yes, I think I see
The
it.
new one,
Yeah.
where there's a hologram of Ana de Armas, who is
Yes.
basically like his personal assistant. I mean, that was amazing to me. Like that idea of a moving projector in a house that basically creates a companion. That's exceptional. I mean, the thing is that can then be used in things like video calls, where now no longer forget about, having a Zoom call. I just walk into this room and there's a projector of the person that I'm sitting next to. And there's something called Portals that does something a little bit like that. But that's a little bit more of the idea of a mass. Granted, that's supposed to be way in the future, but the idea of a type of holographic functionality that can be used by everybody, that you could have it in your house, and upgrade the software, so to speak. I mean, that would be phenomenal. Still, it's a question of what do you project it onto, right? At least right now, right? Like, that's it. Are we going to live in worlds of like semi-transparent screens that we move around and walk through? I don't know. I don't know if I made it easier for you, but I think your professor's right that you'll have to pick one, because there's so much in all of these that you could approach. I don't know which one is most appealing to you guys, and what you're leaning toward.
Yes, I think that the McDonald's one about breaking that thing, about people just going there and just to eat, and maybe to change that is what at least to me it has appealed most. So I think that we can go through that path. I don't know.
Yeah, it will be the easier one, the Japan one, or with sushi. The sushi
Yes.
restaurant, luxurious sushi restaurant will be the easy path. But we like challenges. So.
Yes, we like challenges, so I guess we can go like maybe to explore that. I think it has a lot of risk, but also if you get to work this well, it can be a great opportunity and maybe something revolutionary.
And quite profitable as well.
And quite profitable, yes.
There are lots of McDonald's and Burger King and also Starbucks stores.
Yes.
And that could change a lot of things, because I can tell you this, there's also the question of why have a restaurant at all if I can just go through the drive-through and just get it and go home. So, if you give them a reason to have that location, they're going to have. It's interesting. Here's an interesting business angle that just popped into my head, and I don't know if it's accurate or not. But McDonald's basically has to have these stores because people go there because it's close by. There's millions and millions of them because they want to. There's a McDonald's. If I'm starving, I can just look on my GPS and be like, I know there's a McDonald's within like a mile or two of where I am. I'm pretty positive there is wherever I am. But giving people a reason to go into the store and interact with the brand and to have a longer experience, it could be something very interesting from a business perspective. To say, okay, 75% of your market, and I'm making this up, 75% of your market goes through drive-through. What if we could make that 50% and increase that? So 25% there are going to spend time there and maybe order something else, but have a longer brand experience, have a lasting experience. That in itself would be worth a lot of money to McDonald's. So
yes,
that's very interesting.
Well, good luck. It's a big challenge.
Well, thank you so much. It really has helped us a lot with all your advice and your experience. It has really bring us,
light.
yes, really, really light and well, a
Um,
richer experience in whole.
I'm happy I could help, and I'd love to hear what happens when you guys settle and where it goes. So yeah, you'll have to let me know.
Yes, we'll make sure to advise you and everything, to let you know.
Right.
And
All
also,
right. Well,
I have one last question. It's about the advertisements.
The marketing.
Yeah,
Yes.
the marketing part of our business itself. I want to hear your approach on how we as a company or imaginary company could could do the marketing of our company. I don't know if you understand the brand itself. How could you imagine the brand of our company? It's not we provide solutions to different companies or we enrich the user experience, but I think something more than that would be better. It'd be something more emotional.
Well, I mean, that's certainly something that I need to spend more than a couple of minutes on, but I think that the way to approach it is to look at what makes our company unique. What is the thing that's most unique and most like, for instance, if you go with this McDonald's route, what you're doing there can become your sort of mission statement for your company, is to say that, like, we don't make holograms. We change people's entire perspective on their reality. We change how the world will see your brand in lines with how the world is changing. Things like that, to be like, and I don't want to get too crazy, but you are dealing in the concept of reality, is what is real and what is not. What is the difference between the digital and the physical world? Because when you bring the digital to the physical world, I mean, to me, this is something I care about a lot, because that's really the moment that we are at in time. So if you can figure out a way to market yourself in a way that makes that feel more comfortable and more actionable and also more business oriented, because even though I work with a lot of people that are supposed to already know this, they're supposed to already know that digital and physical are merging and the distinction between them are not quite as significant as they once were, it's still very hard for people. And if you go to the person that signs them a checks at McDonald's, it's going to be even harder for them. So how do you make it feel like this isn't a hologram? I wouldn't sell them a hologram.
No,
I would sell them a way to change their brand in a way that will prepare them for the future that is inevitable. You know what I mean? Like, sell them the part of the digital identity of their brand in a mixed reality world. Now, not in those languages, because that's using my world languages, but something like that, but I can't tell you what that is, not without a lot more time and charging you a lot of money. But I'm just kidding. No. But I don't know. It's a hard question, but I think it's about that. Make it about, brands are arrogant. Brands are myopic. They only care about themselves, right? They're not interested in the rest of the world, except if they're their customers. So it's like, how do you sell them something that makes them better, that makes them feel like this is what I needed. This is something that I needed to take that next step. So yeah, it's not a hologram. It is it's the future of their brand experience. It is why they should still have a physical existence in this digital world, or something like that. You know what I mean?
that's quite cool. That's very good.
Yes, it is. Do you have any other questions? No? Okay.
Maybe, yes. I have a lot of them, but I don't want to take more of your time. So I think by now it's quite good.
Yes, but it does it helps us a lot. Like we have like a clearer vision about what we can do now. So yes, it was
Well, I'm
very
glad I could help. I enjoyed talking to you guys. Like I said, I'm definitely curious to see what happens. And hey, who knows? in 15 years from now, maybe we'll get on another call and I'll be like, I saw your McDonald's and I loved it.
You just have to check the Forbes list in 10 years, so you'll see it.
That's right. That's right. And then I'll come knocking on your door and be like,